Customer rolled in saying that his car had started feeling really stiff and hard to turn after he lent it to his little cousin over the weekend, and they apparently said to have hit a curbside. The owner of this car had been towing his new camper behind him up a steep hill when he suddenly heard a padonk and immediately lost all power. And this customer had gotten some help from his uncle to install a new battery, and just wanted to double check with the shop if everything looked alright because he thought his uncle might have improvised a little bit. Customer apparently hit a light post on his way to work and knocked one of his headlights out, but said that he had to make do with what he had to fix it. And the owner of this car brought it in because it had started running rough, but he claimed to take his yearly maintenance plan very seriously. Yeah, I bet. This guy rolled in asking if it was normal for a car battery to start smoking like this if you've installed 3 light bars. Customer states, steering feels a little stiff. Could there be some air in the power steering system? And the owner of this car had apparently tried to win a bet with his buddies, where they said that they'd give him $700 if he could fix his brakes after downing 2.5 bottles of Jack. And the owner of this car rolled in complaining about a really bumpy ride whenever she goes even over the slightest little bump in the road. I wonder why. And when your tires are this smooth, you should probably make sure you're only driving when it's not raining out. And this guy had seen an ad for one of those small portable car vacuum cleaners and said to himself, I ain't paying no $49 for some garbage when I have duct tape, a couple of tools, and my imagination. And this customer didn't give his full name when signing the repair order, but apparently just wrote M. Silikonovich. And this customer came in saying that her biceps has been growing more than usual lately and wanted to know why. The owner of this car came in for an oil change and casually said that he doesn't believe in showering and that he hadn't had a shower since 2009. Customer states, engine runs bad, wants a thorough inspection. The mechanics drained the car of oil and discovered it was also full of coolant and transmission fluid. Upon further inspection, they noticed that there was a giant bird-shaped hole in the radiator and transmission cooler, as well as a bad head gasket, which had ended up causing the perfect storm. Luckily, the customer's insurance company covered all the repair costs. The mechanic working on this one pulled the wheel off and found a brake rotor that had been doing a complete solo performance for quite some time now. The owner of this car said that it doesn't roll, but just jiggles down the road and didn't know why. And this engine block had developed an opening that the manufacturer definitely had not included in the original design. The mechanic was kind enough to fix it the best way he could. This garage had just taken in a new intern and this was apparently his first shift. This car came in with a pretty serious fluid leak that the mechanic traced pretty quickly once he noticed what the front of the car looked like. Customer came in saying that their heating had stopped working after they recently had a new head gasket installed at a local repair shop. And this truck rolled in with some strange sounds after the owner recently lifted it at a different shop. And this Mercury Sable came in for an oil change, but the mechanic had to spend a good few minutes underneath it, just trying to figure out where to begin. And this customer's vehicle had started to make some extra creamy dark chocolate fondue after it hadn't gotten an oil change in over 55,000 miles. And this car was apparently invaded by jackrabbits while it was parked outside on a ranch in Texas for 5.5 months. This customer came in saying his wife had just gently tapped a curb on her way out of a parking garage and wanted the wheel checked out. And this customer said that their engine temperature gauge only goes up to about 20% and the engine never reaches full temperature, and this is what the mechanics found. And this fleet truck had been on its way back from an early morning delivery run when one of the tires apparently decided it had seen enough of the road.
And now, a quick little ad from Lifmocer. You know those times when you really gotta be somewhere, but suddenly your car won't start? I had exactly that problem this morning on my way to work. I had just bought this classic Mercedes and I didn't check how old the battery was, but thankfully I had this little jump starter from Lifmocer with me. This one's the Lifmocer GS300, a 3000 amp unit, and it jumps anything with a 12-volt battery, gas or diesel. It even has a little flashlight built into it with an SOS feature, which is handy, and you can also charge your smartphone or other electronics through the USB sockets on the side. It also comes with a 5-year warranty, which is nice to have just in case. So now I just plug this onto the battery and hope for the best. Get yours from the link in the description or the pinned comment.
This customer's car came in with a really loud engine rod knock, and this is how the oil looked like. Customer states, just needs a new stereo. Guy I know started the job but had to leave early. Can you have it done by the afternoon? This customer's Dodge pickup was in because the engine had started to knock a lot, and the customer said he thought it was because of a leak and had tried fixing it with some stop leak. Turns out, the customer was dyslexic and had accidentally added liquid copper instead. This mechanic drained the differential on this one and stuck his finger in to stir it around and found something that looked less like gear oil and more like salted caramel fondue. This Cadillac Escalade rolled into the shop because it had a horrible grinding noise from the transmission. The mechanic found that someone had worked on the transmission and had strangely plugged one of the washer fluid hoses into the transmission, which had caused the transmission to get flooded with washer fluid every time the customer went to wash their windshield. Customer states, car's been feeling a little sluggish lately, but I just got the turbo rebuilt at a shop my cousin recommended, so it shouldn't be that. This car had some starting issues, even after the owner had replaced the battery by himself. The mechanics popped the hood open and this is what the battery poles look like. Customer states, had a roof rack installed by a friend of mine, but now there's a small water leak in the cab. The owner of this truck was in because he said that he keeps having to switch car batteries every couple of weeks and had no clue what to do. The mechanic found out that someone had helped him replace the serpentine and generator belts not long ago, but had forgotten something. The mechanic who got underneath this one found a car that looked perfectly fine on the outside but had suspension parts that were having a little too much fun moving around. When you have passenger safety in mind, but it doesn't quite go all the way. The mechanic who got underneath this one was trying to diagnose an exhaust rattle and found the exhaust springs sitting a little backwards. And the owner of this Hyundai Genesis came in asking how expensive of a knock this was. Customer states, took it to a quick lube place last week and they said everything looked great. Now it's making a sound like a blender full of pebbles. This customer said that his favorite music video is California Love by Tupac and wanted a daily driver that reminded him of it. The mechanic who pulled this engine apart found a crankshaft that had made a pretty final decision about where it wanted to go next in its life. Here's a video of another shop caught in action while working on a customer's car. The owner of this car had apparently taken it to a friend's garage for some suspension work a few months back and left feeling pretty good about it. The mechanic grabbed the shock and gave it one wiggle and it had quite a lot to say. And this rusty car was in because the owner said he had a bit of surface rust on the undercarriage that he wanted the shop to give a repair quote for. The shop owner told the customer that it would be better if he instead took that money and invested it into a newer car. The customer told him to F off and just drove away. The owner of this car came in saying the brakes had been feeling a little spongy lately, and the mechanic found out pretty quickly just how hard that wheel had been working at keeping things together. When your cooler starts having Shrek piss for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you know you're in trouble. And this is what happens when you ignore a check engine light for just a little too long. Customer states, installed a new coolant cap by himself and thinks that's why he's losing so much coolant.